We have a question here from someone. What were some of the fact-based media you read that changed your mind? So when I was in MAGA, I was completely in a MAGA media echo chamber. Any information that even remotely refuted the pervasively held mythologies and beliefs of the community, it was shunned, it was kept out. And I'm not saying that MAGA is the only group who is information siloed, but I can attest to the fact with confidence that there is no group more info siloed in the country than is MAGA. And I was consuming only the kinds of media that I was writing for. Your Foxes, The Federalist, Real Clear Politics, WorldNet Daily, American Thinker, American Greatness. These were very far right wing media sources that I wrote for, that I consumed. I probably perused and read Breitbart.com more than any other site out there. I lived on that site. I checked it obsessively dozens of times a day. I lived in the comment section. It's the only media, MAGA media was the only media that I watched and listened to and followed. And as I started diversifying my news and information sources, I started integrating what we would consider to be your normal legacy mainstream media, such as daily newspapers like USA Today and the New York Times and the Washington Post, periodicals like The Atlantic. I would read articles in the Associated Press. I would check out stories on PBS. I would get this information that countered many of the beliefs and the myths that I sincerely held as accurate that turned out to be false. And something I came to understand after leaving MAGA is that there has been a coordinated multi-decade effort to dehumanize, demonize, and vilify Democrats, liberals, progressives, and leftists. And this propaganda and agitprop has been effective, it's been consistent, and it's been disciplined. And if you think about some of the GOP MAGA talking points right now, for example, communism, which is the insult du jour of the Republican Party right now. I'm going to do a shameless book plug here for a minute because I think it's important that when I was in MAGA, I write about this in my memoir, that I believe that there was a they, and the they were trying to abridge my rights. They were trying to indoctrinate my children. They were coming for my guns. They were trying to replace white people with brown people and foreigners. They were trying to turn America into a communist and socialist country. Sound familiar, that one? There was a they trying to persecute Christians and erode Christianity out of our culture. I believed in this they. I believed that they were real, that there was a devilish liberal and Democrat behind every tree. But it turned out that there wasn't a they. And while we might be able to find individual examples of some of what I'm saying, there was no communist, socialist, they epidemic of Democrats and liberals trying to infringe upon my rights and turn my children into transgender Marxists. It was made up then. It's made up and imaginary now. But the media that I consumed kept me in these interminable loops of fear and rage. And I was addicted to fear and rage. And the media that I watched and read and listened to, what it did was it affirmed and reinforced those addictions to fear and rage. And for those of you right now who have friends and relatives in MAGA, you have to please understand with empathy that the information that they are consuming is lying to them, that they are consuming mis and disinformation. And again, I'm not saying that mis and disinformation is only present in MAGA. It is present in other groups. I see it myself online. I try to correct it when I see it. So it's not just MAGA, but in MAGA, it is mis and disinformation has reached a crisis level because the media that they are consuming It's either lying to them or it's withholding relevant information that they need in order to make informed decisions. No one, for example, watches Fox News to inform and edify and educate oneself. Someone watches Fox News because Fox reinforces and affirms the audience's addictions to rage and fear. And it's why I say that when we founded Leaving MAGA, we created a pathway for people to leave behind the extremism of MAGA politics and also eliminate those addictions to fear and rage, which dictate so much of the thinking and the behavior and the worldview of those who are in MAGA. I simply just incorporated mainstream legacy media into my media diet, and I started to understand just how much of what it was that I believed was wrong and was false. And it was really hard for me to acknowledge that. I spent an entire year just myself and my thoughts alone at night in solitude, very personally tumultuous time, a lot of turmoil, because I had to accept that I had allowed myself to be lied to and I had believed those lies and I had crafted an entire persona based on those lies. So for those of you, again, with friends and relatives in MAGA, please understand that they are consuming information that is false and is keeping them addicted to rage and fear. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes with that point about diversifying our news and information sources. And for those of you who are seeing this, who maybe are left-leaning or liberals or Democrats, ask yourself, do you have a relatively diverse source of information yourself? And if you don't, that's okay to admit that, but we want to try to widen our information aperture as much as we can, so that way we're getting information that isn't just always confirming our own biases and our own worldview. Hey everybody, if you like this video, make sure you drop a comment, make sure you subscribe, and also be sure to visit us at leavingmaga.org. You can read more of our testimonials, you can contact us, you can subscribe to our newsletter, you can get information on our support groups that we hold every week for friends and relatives of those in MAGA, and you can get information on my memoir, One Betrayal Too Many, Why I Left MAGA. And any questions that you have, you can feel free to bring them to our weekly live stream, which is at Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern, across all of our socials. As always, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for your support.